Oh my God! It's 7 o'clock on Saturday, June 8th, and well, this is Saturday Night Live with your dear friends Zach and Ray from YAA. What are you drinking there, Hanson?
The normal.
LaCroix.
I got my LaCroix. They give it
Yeah.
to us for free here, except not really. We
Well,
pay
well,
like
come
way
on.
too
I
much
mean,
in rent.
it's not for free. There's nothing for free there. It's all factored into the rent.
It's an expensive rent too, and everything in life. That nothing is free. What's that saying? It's like there's no such thing as a free lunch, something like that.
Somebody once said that. Probably somebody that didn't get comped when he ate at a restaurant. Yeah.
Alex is here with us. Space is here with us. JMB, you're gonna watch the rerun later. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in later. Michael's here with us. Stiggs, Steve, Matthew, BB searching for a 2022 Toyota Sienna Limited on the YAA site. Really glad that we built the car search, aren't you?
Yeah. 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 Me
Brian's
too.
with us, Phil's with us, RP's with us, Matt's here, Jason. All right, Pops, we got a good group here. We're going to talk tonight about the bubble bursting. How's that sound?
Excuse me. The what?
The bubble.
The
I wish I had a sound effect.
the bubble.
The bubble bursting.
The bubble bursting. Yeah. We're going to talk about it when it bursts, or are we going to talk about when we think it might burst, or
Here's what I wanted to do. We referenced a few weeks ago, and actually, Stiggs brought it up earlier in the chat already. Was more hoping more folks around the industry and media would be agreeing with KPMG's prediction that used car prices will fall by the end of the year. It seems that no one else agrees. Kind of bummed. What I thought we'd do, Dad, is on the channel, we haven't yet ever looked at the actual KPMG report. I thought I'd pull it up for you.
I thought we did. I thought
No,
we
we
looked
looked
at
at-
it one day. Yeah, no, we referenced it one day, and
We
and
referenced it. Did we look at it?
I think so. And perhaps if used car prices are going to drop, then you need to be buying your used car from somebody that works for the firm, because
Pops.
that's the only place that they're going to drop.
So you're telling me you've seen this?
Yeah, yeah.
We've never pulled this up on the show.
Well, then I guess maybe I read it, which God knows I don't read, so that I couldn't. Somebody sent it to me. Was it you?
You read it? You read it?
I do believe. Yeah, they're thinking that there's going to be quite a correction. Oh, thanks. Yeah, they're thinking there's going to be quite a correction this year, and yeah, they represent the minority view, and talking to people within the industry, who are actually ones that need to go out and procure cars for their dealerships. They don't see it happening anytime soon, and the reason they don't see it happening anytime soon is because there's just not enough new car production, and there won't be enough new car production this year to where we get to, as you like to call it, parity.
So KPMG acknowledges that. They actually have the same exact chart that you and I referenced from Boston Consulting Group. So they're not suggesting that we're going to get back to parity like that, but they do present 4 different forecasts or scenarios. I thought we could take a peek at that because I think honestly that speed, we don't know when the bubble's going to burst. And quite frankly, the bubble's going to get bigger. Springtime is going to be silly, is my expectation.
May I say one thing?
Please.
Just between us two and the millions around the world that might be viewing, nobody knows when the bubble's going to burst. Nobody, not a soul. It's all, we're all just guessing, and we're using the best information we have to make that guess. They're all educated guesses, but nobody really knows. Nobody knows.
Well, no one knows anything that's going to happen in the future. Something could happen tomorrow. But I think our responsibility is to at least make some provide our expectation for what.
Yes.
So can I share with you the four forecasts?
Please. Okay. I don't know how I've lived without this. So please.
Okay. Bear with me. Let me scroll to it. See, this is the same exact thing. Remember that essentially
Boston Consulting Group, with their
similar type chart.
Yeah.
This was actually kind of neat as we're scrolling down the labor shortage in automotive right now. Look at that. This is the number of open jobs. Isn't that crazy?
Would that be 584,000?
Yeah, when typically it was like 200.
So what kind of jobs are they looking to fill?
The chip shortage was not the only supply constraint. As the U.S. economy revived, West Coast ports and warehouses became massive bottlenecks. Super container ships with auto parts and ro-ro automobile transporters were moored offshore for leaks. Like other manufacturers, automakers also complain of labor shortages and rising wage rates. Semi-skilled workers can now command manufacturing wages in less demanding occupations, such as retail. In October 2021, manufacturers said they had more than 584,000 jobs. So not retailers, manufacturers have
Mm-hmm.
584,000.
No, there's no hope for me then. I'm not ready to go into manufacturing. I'm too
I
old
have
for that.
fielded so many phone calls on your behalf, Pops, of people saying, "Does Ray want to be a general manager?" I'm like, I don't think so. All right, I'm coming up to it.
Well, I think it's lovely that you field those calls for me, but let me hear an offer, buddy, before you just absolutely turn it down.
All right, fair enough. So here's the used car price index, the new car index.
If somebody called me and said, "Hey, does Zach want to be the CEO of a billion-dollar company?" I'd say, "Oh, no, no, no. He'd rather piddle with this."
But Pop's $1 billion company. It's GM of Acura of Tulsa or something like that.
Well,
You want me to call him back?
who? No, no. I think the only person at this point that I would be willing. There might be two people that I would be willing to work for.
Huh.
One would be quasi locally, and she doesn't have a dealership at the moment. And the other would be Igor, and he doesn't have any dealerships at the moment. So, but
right,
other than that, I think I'm pretty content. Like hanging out with you on a Saturday night.
Thank you. All right, can we look at these forecasts?
God, I wish you would already.
Scenarios to return to equilibrium. It's right down below, but let's read this out really quick. In Exhibit 9, we lay out we lay out 4 broad scenarios based on different assumptions about supply and demand. These scenarios are illustrative. There are infinite variations between the two extreme
They're
cases.
illustrative. They're not illustrative. I guess you could say illustrative.
Are we really going there?
No, I'm sorry. It's probably illustrative.
Illustrative.
See, I was correct.
It's going to be a long night. Okay.
It's been a long 70 years for me, buddy.
The upper left scenario represents a continuation of the current of limited supply and high demand, which would drive used car prices even higher. The lower right represents the least desirable scenario for automakers. Let's root for that. No, okay, I'm just kidding. Just as they get back to full capacity and start building for a 17 million plus unit market, demand evaporates because of rising interest rates or a slowing economy. In each scenario, we look at likely patterns of overall supply and demand, as well as the potential timing and the impact of external forces. The wild card could be inflation. So again, this is KPMG's report. They should have just titled it, "When Will the Bubble Burst?"
Like we would.
They probably get more views.
Yeah. We could help improve their click-through rate. Just you need to be a little more clickbaity there.
And a picture of you saying, beautiful.
Yeah.
Low supply, high demand. This is one of the extreme scenarios. This scenario assumes continued strong demand and constrained supplies through mid-2023. This would add to the theoretical backlog of unmet demand for new cars and exacerbate the used car shortage and pricing spiral. Okay. And I promise you, below it's actually it shows the forecast scenario.
Yeah.
Low supply, low demand. This scenario assumes natural demand begins to soften slightly at the end of 2021 as the recovery loses steam, and obviously supply stays the same.
Yeah, but has the recovery lost any steam?
We'll talk about that here in just a moment.
Okay.
High supply, high demand. This scenario assumes supply recovers but can't keep up with robust demand in the near term. Interesting. High supply, low demand. In this scenario, the supply constraints end in early 2022 and automakers restore normal production and dealer inventories just as demand evaporates. Which of these do you feel like is most realistic, Pops? Just putting you on the spot.
Upper left. Low supply, high demand.
I think it's going to be closer to low supply, low demand. I think as you see, well, what's your rationale?
Because I don't see what's out there that would bring about more vehicle availability. Well, and as long as there seems to be a shortage of vehicles, whether they be new or they be used, there doesn't, at this particular point in time, seem to be a shortage of people willing to buy them. Okay, that's the dilemma. That's what the dilemma has been, is that either there were 15 million people or 14 million, however many new cars were sold last year. Let's say it was 14 million. I don't know what the
Mhm.
number was off the top of my head, but let's say it was 14 million.
Around
So
there.
either there were 14 million people that absolutely positively needed a new car, and bought one, or more than likely there were about 13 million people that wanted a car, and about 1 million people that absolutely needed a car. And because of those 13 million people that wanted a car, even though prices were high, they agreed to pay the those prices in order to submit their, or in order to give in to their desires.
Sorry, I just had to pull that up, Pops.
Yeah.
It's too good.
Okay. Oh well, we do need pocket pop. Yeah.
No, so I hear what you're saying, but don't you think that if interest rates go up, that there's gonna be some decline in demand because it'll be more expensive to actually, like, finance the purchase?
What I think will happen is, that you'll see some type of decline in older, sketchier cars, 10, 12, 14-year-old used cars that seem to be making their way into the marketplace today, because there'll be less people that will find themselves in a position to be able to afford a car.
Yeah,
So I think the chasm between those who can afford and those who can't afford will grow. But I still think, even with interest rates going up, that there's enough people on the side of the chasm that can afford to do things even with higher interest rates than there are on the other side of the chasm. So I think there are enough middle class, middle class, upper class people to survive and
yeah,
keep the demand going, where those who are less fortunate economically will fall by the wayside when it comes to the demand. But
for
I
sure.
really think those people make up a smaller percentage of sales over the last 18 months than at probably any other time. But that's just a gut feeling. I don't have the statistics to back that up, but based on when we see that, for instance, the average financed amount is $35,000,
Up
and
5 grand from a year ago.
yes, and maybe like the average payment is close to $700 a month, you're really limiting who can buy a car.
You've gotta think, right? Like, there are people who can't afford a 7 I can't even imagine paying a $700 payment right now.
Well, you
That just
used
seems
to.
No, I know, but, like, I used to make more money than I do now. Like, I can't imagine making a $700 a month payment, like, that's
Yeah,
and
I
then you've
mean,
got
I
insurance.
pay what, $384 a month. And that seems like plenty to me. But
Yeah.
you would almost have to double my payment to get to what the average payment is today.
So let me show you the, Sandy. Hey, Sandy. Always good to see
Hi,
you too.
Sandy.
And Jay and LW, you guys are so awesome. It's because of your info I was able to work the market and get the car I wanted for a long time. That's awesome.
Well,
That's
and
gonna make really
thank
good.
you so much for the kind donation.
Yeah. So let me show you, Pops, what KPMG says here. And there's just a lot of different ways we're going to take this conversation. So it says a key finding from our illustrative.
Illustrative. I'm sorry.
Why'd they have to put it there again? A key
I,
finding from our scenarios is that
yeah.
in all cases, the backlog of unmet demand will continue to grow at least through Q1 2022. That's the reason we feel really confident saying these
Yes.
car prices are going to keep going up in the spring.
Well, yeah,
How
that and tax refund season. Yeah.
Exactly. However, the time it takes to restore normal production and satisfy theoretical unfilled demand varies. As Exhibit 10 illustrates, getting back to normal could take until late 2023. In every scenario, we expect the market to anticipate the turnaround in the new car supply situation ahead of time and begin repricing used cars before new car lots are full and used car demand returns to normal. So a moment
M-
ago, go ahead,
May I say something?
please.
Car dealers aren't smart enough to do that.
Oh, I disagree.
I'm just letting you. They are not. They are.
The
They are.
consolidation, Dad.
Let me share something with you about car dealers.
Hmm,
They are not. proactive. They are entirely, as a group, reactive. And usually their reactions are late.
AutoNation is a $7.5 billion company. Lithia is a $9 billion company. Penske is a 1 second 8.5. Like they got people on payroll that are going to be out in front of this.
Okay. Okay. I think not, but you know,
I think so.
that's just me. But I worked in the industry. I helped run dealerships. I watched. I had such a difficult time getting
That's fair. I get where you're coming from.
owners to try and anticipate what was going to happen as opposed to just reacting to what was happening. Now maybe I just worked for a bunch of owners that didn't have that ability. But
We'll see.
one of the owners I did work for is I worked for the Penske organization.
Yeah. But
And
here,
when I tried to be proactive, I got my hand slapped and told, well, no, you should check with the zone manager to see if it would be okay to sell cars, when it had nothing to do with the zone manager, when it had everything to do with what I saw coming. No, so I'm sorry. I just think the vast majority of dealerships just don't fit into that category. They're always going to be reactive because they think they know everything.
so let's take a peek at the chart, Pops. So what we've got here is you were suggesting that most likely what you anticipate happening is the low supply, high demand scenario,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
the dark blue line here, which runs all the way out to, I mean, call it what it is. I mean, that's beginning
2
of
years.
yeah, it's 2 years. Yeah. And that's when in our y-axis here is estimated cumulative new car shortage. So this is like, maybe a few months in advance. Maybe I'm saying maybe, Pops. Maybe in a
Yeah.
few
No,
months
I
in
get
advance,
it.
you'd see used car prices start to come down. The bubble theoretically would burst because they know that new car supply is coming back. If we looked at the most aggressive timeline, which is the high supply, low demand. So this is, we start seeing headlines. We start seeing every manufacturer put out headlines like Toyota, right? As if everyone was putting out Toyota headlines saying we're producing more vehicles than we've ever produced before. We have no issues whatsoever with the supply chain. Supply is going to be higher this year than it's ever been before. If everyone starts putting out headlines like that, interest rates go up considerably. So there's a big decrease in consumer demand. Then the bubble's going to burst in like the summer. I mean, that's what that scenario suggests, right?
First of all, there isn't the ability to be able to produce in those numbers. There isn't. Everything other than this organization, everything we read indicates that there's probably going to be 7 to 8 million vehicles that were scheduled for production in 2022 that will not be produced because of supply chain issues, whether they be COVID related, whether they be worker related, whether they be chip related. Okay. So yes, Toyota can say that they produced more cars in December than they ever did in any other December. That doesn't mean they'll be able to say that for the next 12 months, and none of the other manufacturers will as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's pretty well documented that production's not going to be able to catch up at this point, or at probably earliest, maybe the third to fourth quarter of 2022 of this year. But it's not, they can put out all the rosy headlines they want. But if there's still very limited inventory at the dealerships, then the reality doesn't match the headlines. Okay. And we're still at a point, and we will be at this point for quite some time, that 90% of everything that's being built is already spoken for. Well, guess what? If it's already spoken for, those people have already committed themselves to buying a car. We're looking for the rest of the people that want to buy a car that can't because there's nothing on the lot for them to buy.
Yep. I hear you 100%. I
Yeah.
think back to when we started this. They're saying the extremes, right? They're
Yes.
putting essentially they're giving us the field with which we can, move laterally and vertically on. And this is one of the constraints. They're saying in theory,
Yes.
if everything got back to normal, you'd see the prices drop by, honestly, you'd see the prices start to drop 3 months from now. That's what they're saying.
That would be great. Yeah.
And on the other end of the spectrum, you're going to see prices drop in 18 months. That's their expectation for the long tail scenario.
Yes, and from people that I'm talking to in the industry, people that are out there buying and trying to find pre-owned cars
Yeah.
for their dealerships, they, I mean, they call me and they ask me the same, when's it going to end? How long can this go? And I say, well, is available inventory increasing? Well, no, then there's no end. Not until available pre-owned inventory increases or until new car inventory increases. And at this point, we haven't seen an indication that either of those things is happening. Now, do I wish it would? Yes,
I think
absolutely.
some manufacturers, like, let's give Toyota some props. Like, they are producing more vehicles. Like, the chip shortage and the supply chain issues haven't affected each manufacturer the same. I mean, some have
No,
been hurt
I mean,
way worse.
Subaru has been unable to navigate the supply chain issues and the production issues. They've just been caught completely flat-footed, while others, such as Toyota, have been nimble enough to figure out ways to keep production at relatively high levels. But it doesn't necessarily mean that those levels are as high as they would have wanted them to be.
Yeah, definitely
And
not.
and those levels aren't high enough at this point to basically allow for excess inventory. They're just realistically building what's pre-sold.
We should get, it's worth mentioning, we should get likely on Monday the latest inventory levels from Automotive News. So we'll publish those. We'll make everyone aware of those. We have the
Yes.
December data, so I just pulled that up really quick to
Yeah,
see.
which was
Not good.
putrid.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was very not good. But Toyota's
Is that
inventory,
a technical term? Very not good.
very not good. Toyota's inventory went up compared to October, so it was down.
Yeah, but comparing it to a year ago or 2 years ago, it was significantly below. I mean,
Oh yeah.
we know that in the fourth quarter of 2019, okay, the average amount of inventory, new car inventory on dealers' lots was about 3.5 million vehicles. Okay. And we also know that in December of 2021,
Hmm.
that the new car inventory that was on dealers' lots was less than 1 million vehicles. Okay. It was under 1 million. It was 900, say it was 950,000. But that's almost 2.5 million vehicles below what it had been just 2 years earlier. Where do you magically come up with those 2.5 million vehicles in the near term? I don't know, say the next 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
In order to be able to take care of all the demand that's out there.
So
I think the answer is you can't, and you don't.
How about this? Let's talk about some of the implications of the situation. So if you've made it this far in the stream, if you're watching the replay, when's the bubble going to burst? We got two ends of the spectrum. It could burst in 2 weeks, 2 months, excuse me, through
Yeah.
3 months. It's not going to do that. Don't expect it.
Everything indicates that it's not, but it could.
It could.
If anything's possible.
Will we put out a video that says the bubble's going to burst in 2 months?
Probably, because it's clickbaity enough to get views. Yeah.
We won't do that. We won't do that. The other end of the spectrum is the bubble's going to burst 18 months from now. Will it likely be something in between there? Yeah, it'll likely be something.
Yeah, likely. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it is 12 to 18 months. And I mean, but who knows? I mean, I keep saying it. There could be something catastrophic that happens that none of us can even foresee at the moment, that would change everything, that could bring the world to a halt to a certain degree, and that could crash economies, which will crash, which would crash pricing. But I don't know what that is.
let's talk about the other implications of what's going on in the market. And KPMG did a really good job, I think, of actually hitting on this. So
Yes.
implications. I want to hit on one in particular, but we'll hit on it on all three of them. Build to order.
Yes.
What if automakers aimed for dealer inventories to be a 40-day supply rather than the ideal industry target of 60 and the more common historical reality of 90? This would bring the U.S. market closer to the European model. You've talked about this for a long, long
Yeah.
time.
I mean, we've always talked about it.
It's the way of the future.
Yeah,
Reduce.
and and I keep saying that normal, when things are normal again, will be 60 to 70% of what normal used to be. So if a dealership normally had 1,000 new cars on their lot, the new normal at some point, which might be 12 to 18 months from now, that new normal will be that they'll have somewhere between 600 and 700 new vehicles on their lot. They'll be at 60 to 70% of what normal used to be. So what's 60 to 70% of a 90-day supply? A
Oh, sorry.
50-day supply?
I thought you were going to keep going, so I ended the screen share because I was gonna,
Okay, I'm sorry.
you
So
gotta cue me
yeah,
better.
so there's that. Yes, I think we'll see more build to order requests and things like that. But Mike Dean is in the house. But I think it'll be quite some time before we see any reasonable normalization of
Yep.
inventories.
So the other one that KPMG is saying will be a likely outcome as a result of what we've seen is reduction in build complexity. Listen to this, Pops.
Oh, that's been going on for years.
Yep, and I think this is a
Yeah.
pretty keen driver to it. Chevrolet has literally thousands of combinations of powertrain, cab, bed paint, trim, and options for the Silverado.
Okay.
Cutting
Yeah.
down build combinations would make factories more efficient, but could drive away some consumers. It all sounds great until a Chevy dealer loses a truck sale because he didn't have the right Silverado in stock. That comes from one of the vice presidents over at ALG.
Okay. Well, I can tell you
Hmm.
that manufacturers such as Honda or Toyota or Lexus or Acura, um, the way they think is they're going to build what they think about 90% of the public will buy, and and for those other 10%, either you acquiesce to the way that those manufacturers want to build it, either in their base trim, their EXL or XL or whatever trim level it is, and you acquiesce to how they build it, or you go find a different brand that will cater to the 10% of the buying public that just isn't happy
Mhm.
settling. And and truly, there's not a lot of brands out there anymore that give you the freedom to mix and match any way that you want, like you used to be able to, which was the reason somebody could order a blue car with this dark green interior that, and then they passed away before the car came in, and then the dealer was stuck with it and they could never sell it.
Yeah.
Those days, I mean, about the only manufacturer, and even Mini doesn't let you do it that much anymore,
Mhm.
is they limit the way you can package things. It's just, it is
And it's
more.
inevitable. Like, this is the wave of the future. Is it's going to be more
Yes,
standardized.
because it's more cost efficient. The less the less choices you give people, the cheaper it becomes to build everything.
Let me hit you
It's
with the
just
next
it's
one, Pops.
it's just that simple.
Listen to this one because it's going to tie
Okay.
in with like a couple thoughts that I've had walking into tonight's show. It's in bold. Build a direct customer connection. Let me read this out
Mhm.
to you. Automakers have started taking brand loyalty seriously. Do you want to laugh at that before I continue, or?
Yes, I do. That that is the furthest thing from the truth I have ever heard.
Okay, glad I gave you. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll unpack that in a second.
Oh my
But
god.
here, Dad, this is how they're
Yeah.
taking brand loyalty seriously. They're
Yeah.
creating, quote, voice of the customer or customer journey groups.
Oh, okay. If they ever wanted to pay attention to their customers, which they never have, okay, they pretend like they care. They don't care. Given the opportunities to do the right things for their customers, typically they choose not to.
This is fair. This
So
is fair.
so No, I'm sorry. That's just corporate speak. That's
Let me
just
hit you.
stuff. That's just stuff to placate the stockholders.
Let me hit you though, because this. All right, hang tight. In many states, franchise laws prevent automakers from going full Tesla, selling direct to consumers, but online platforms give automakers an opportunity to connect directly and continually with customers. Nissan has attempted to do this, and it's horrific. But anyway, even if sales and service are still conducted by franchise dealers, and with highly computerized connected cars, auto dealers have access to data about the performance and condition of their products even as they pass into the resale market. New usage and ownership models also can help automakers remake the relationship with customers. Increasingly, customers may be getting automotive transportation through ride sharing, car sharing, or even subscription services. Over time, these innovations will redefine the consumer vehicle purchase slash repurchase model, altering the user experience and perhaps provide automakers with a more stable cash flow model. Now, what I wanted to do here, Pops, is did you see the news from Ford recently? They've been getting on their dealers and they've been taking more control over the upcoming release of their Ford Lightning. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I saw where they're admonishing their dealers not to charge extra, not to create different upcharges, and then creating this addendum to the purchase order that the customer agrees that they will not sell the vehicle or trade the vehicle before a year's anniversary of their purchase, which I don't even know if that would be legal. I mean, once
They've done
ownership,
it on the GT in the past.
yeah, but once something has changed hands, a title, okay, once a title has changed hands, the seller no longer commands anything that can be done with it. It's not theirs to set rules any further.
I don't know if you'll remember this, and I didn't remember it until I reread the article. John Cena bought one of those GTs way back
Yeah,
when, and then
yeah,
he tried to sell it, and then they
yeah,
ended up taking him to court, and they settled outside of court. So, like, you're
yeah.
gonna
But you
go
don't know what
court.
they settled. You don't know if they paid him for to not do it. You don't know.
This is
Okay,
true.
because they settled out of court. The point is, if they've handed over ownership, then they've handed over control.
How
It's
much
not theirs anymore. How can they stipulate what you can or can't do with something that you now own and they don't?
how much did the manufacturers make? This is unrelated, but because, like, I wanna dive deeper into the fact that Ford's taking more control, trying to take more control, but how much do they make when they sell one of their cars? Like, they make a lot of money, don't they?
I'm sure they make thousands. I think they make more than the dealers per car.
Yeah.
And we know the dealers are making a lot of money right now. I mean, I'm just guessing if something has an MSRP of say 50,000, I'm guessing that the cost to the manufacturer is somewhere between 25 and 30,000. Now, maybe and if it has an MSRP of 50 and there's a 10% margin in it for the dealer, so that means the car cost 45 grand or 45.5, and if it cost the manufacturer 25, they're making 20 grand. They're making 15
And
to
then they have their
$20,000.
exposure. They have their exposure on the warranty, right? So they
Well,
got
yeah,
for
the
it.
minute that car gets sold to a retail customer, then whatever profit they made on that car selling it to the dealer starts to shrink because
Yeah.
there's warranty costs involved. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, but the front end gross on a car that they sell or a truck that they sell, yeah, probably considerable.
I
Really, really
and I
considerable.
don't know for a fact. Obviously there's accountants who know to the penny what each one of these vehicles makes for these companies. But regardless of how much they make, I just once they've sold it, once they've relinquished ownership, once they've relinquished title to it. Well, I don't get how they suddenly become your best friend and tell you no, no, you can't sell it.
Yeah. No, it's a
I
really fair question.
and I'm God knows, I didn't even stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. But I would think that there would have to be an attorney somewhere who would be more than happy to litigate something like that, even if it was on a class action basis, to prove to the manufacturer that once it's sold, and you can't stipulate anything.
Hey, speaking of attorneys and class action, Jay Nagame, thank you for being here. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
the
Thank you so
support.
much.
Pop, speaking of class action, I was thinking about other bubbles that we're experiencing right now. How much do you think Carvana's stock price has gone down over the past month? It is a precipitous drop. I will just tell you that.
Oh, I wouldn't.
We are not Carvana haters, by the way. We are not. We're not haters. We just, they've got
We
some
just
talent.
report the facts that they can't get their stuff together. But
Yep.
other than that, we're not haters. I don't know. What if they lost about 25% of their value because of the issues they're having?
31%.
It should be higher.
And it kind of speaks to, because right now, if you're not familiar, Carvana has a class action lawsuit against them for all the challenges that they faced in actually giving people the title and registration to their vehicles, which is kind
To
of
the
fun.
vehicles that they sell, yeah, which is part
What's
and
worse?
parcel of selling
What's
them.
worse, Dad? Not getting the title and registration to your vehicle, or signing a conditional contract that says you can't sell your vehicle after you bought your vehicle for a period of time?
Well, the stipulation that you can't sell your vehicle, I think could be taken to court and you would win. And the other one is you couldn't sell it because you never got title to it to be able to sell it because ownership has never really passed from one entity to the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
So I think the Carvana situation is worse. I think the other situation you can't sell it for a year is a situation that if you really, really wanted to, you could fight it and win.
I'm not sure, man, because Ford did it one time with the GT. Like, they have experience with this. I'm sure they pressure tested it.
You sure?
Okay.
Or you just
You want to
assuming?
you want to buy a Lightning, and we'll see what we can do.
I don't want to buy a Lightning. I don't. But I'm telling you that there's people. I mean, if Ford can't control their dealers, which they can't, okay, and whether it be in the franchise agreements or not, they very rarely ever take away somebody's franchise because, well, they decided to mark something up that Ford had hoped they wouldn't.
Yeah.
So if they can't control their dealers, how the hell are they going to control the customer? How are they going to say to somebody that bought something, you can't sell it?
This is fair. This is fair.
How about if you buy the Lightning and it turns out to be the biggest piece of poo on the planet? Okay. And you say to yourself, I don't want to live with this piece of poo anymore. I want to get rid of it. Oh, but I can't because I agreed to protect Ford's interests and not sell this for a year. That ain't holding water anywhere.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. All right, Pops, let's go to the chat. And just,
My God,
people wants to know
get me so
CarMax.
worked up. Huh?
It's good for your blood pressure. CarMax versus Carvana. I think if we had to buy a car from one of them, we'd probably go to CarMax. They're both expensive and overpriced, but
Yes,
I'd go
yes,
CarMax.
but CarMax seems to have perfected the way they sell cars, and really, we haven't been privy to any lawsuits against them for people not being able to get their titles and registrations, and and even though maybe Carvana sold 100 some thousand used cars last month, and maybe there were 400 that people are still waiting on titles, that's 400 more than it should be. And I don't recall reading anything about CarMax having issues like that.
No, definitely. All right, ready? Let's keep. I've got a few here, Pops, for you. We've got. Wait, where'd it go? Okay, I got it right here.
I don't know.
Mike says Happy New Year. I thought we'd pull that up.
And San Antonio, I've been to San Antonio. It's a very lovely town. Riverwalk is beautiful.
Ray wants to know if we bought a car yet. Not yet, but you're moving down here to Bethesda. I actually have it's right over here in the office, Dad. I've got the iPad and the Magic Pencil. We are going to start a new series once my dad comes down here. We can telestrate on the screen. So get excited for this. And if you want, become a YA member. You'll be able to send us your car deals. And like we've done in the past, we'll analyze and review them. But my dad will be able to actually mark it up, express you'll use your left hand.
Yeah, pretty much. Because if I use my right hand, no, it'll be like a Picasso.
I'm excited, man. I got the iPad, I got the pencil. I got to connect it to the computer. I'll figure that all out. But that's going to be really. Let us know in the chat what you want my dad to write over. What do you want him to telestrate? John Madden, rest in peace. But
maybe we could get a picture of me. I could grow a beard in the picture. I could draw on a beard. By the way, I'm assuming you need me to bring my microphone and everything with me when I.
Yes, please. When you move here.
When I move to your neck of the woods.
And every USB-C cable I left at your place, please bring it.
Okay.
There's a lot. Papa Shevska, where did the term lemon come from?
That's a good question. I have no idea. But I guess because the experience would be as bitter as a lemon might
Hmm,
be when you buy something and it doesn't work the way it's supposed to work, or somebody can't figure out how to get it to work the way it's supposed to work in a reasonable number of attempts. Um, so maybe that's where it came from.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. Um, RP wants to know why CarMax lots are so full of inventory. Did you see they bought over 360,000 cars last quarter? Was that what it
That
was?
would be a reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
a big one.
They understand they're in the used car business, and if you're in the used car business, you need to have used cars.
Buying cars, just like a little thing that I've learned. Like I've had conversations with Vroom, and like they're desperate to buy cars. Like they want us. They
Yeah.
not us, but like they want us to like, help them buy cars. It's like very competitive, very, very competitive out there. Scott, I am actually running my first ever marathon, full marathon in February in Austin. So yes, I am still running, and that's going to be very painful.
Mm. I won't be there to welcome you at the finish line, other than perhaps virtually.
Hey, Pops, Carl. You
Yes,
recognize Carl?
I do.
Happy Saturday, fellas. Picking up my Subaru Forester Wilderness sometime next week. What should I be prepping for before my car comes? Great question, Carl, and congrats.
Well, I would, if your car's due in next week sometime, I would make sure that you have your loan arrangements in place. So we'll go to your credit union or your bank, or if you're going through dealership financing, if they have any special financing, make sure that all gets handled prior to you actually going into the dealership, so that the amount of time you spend at the dealership can be minimized as opposed to maximized. And make sure that you remind them that when the new car manager sets up the repair order for the pre-delivery inspection, to make sure that they don't add any dealer installed accessories that you didn't agree to, because you don't want them saying, yeah, but we put this on every car. Well, you didn't have to put it on mine because I didn't order it with it. So that would be the main thing I would be prepping for.
Thank you for that, Pops.
You're
All
welcome.
right. Question: what does it benefit the dealer for the buyer not to sell the car in the first year? So this again ties back to Ford's side agreement saying you can't sell your.
Well, Ford is here. Here's Ford's concern. Um, Ford's concern is that somebody's going to buy a Lightning, and that there's enough pent up demand that that person who buys the Lightning, and say they buy it at MSRP, that they then turn around and sell it to somebody else for a $10,000 or $20,000 profit, because the demand for the car is so high.
Which would be like that would
But
happen.
it happens. It happens all the time. Listen, when I worked for the Penske organization, um, at that time, they didn't want us to sell cars over MSRP. Well, if you had specialized cars that were in high demand and could bring more than MSRP, well, you would sell them to your captive lease company to turn it into a used car, and then sell it for whatever price you wanted to sell it for, or whatever price the market would bear. So dealers do it, and Ford is just afraid that, well, the customers who are the first ones to get the vehicle are going to do it. Well, you know what? It's not often customers get to take advantage of these types of situations. So don't begrudge the customer for being able to buy it and turn around and sell it and make a profit.
Yeah, but
It'll
then the
all
same
wash
case
out
could be
in the
made
end.
that the dealership should just be the one marking it up the extra 10 grand then, and they don't want that either. And we don't want that.
Yeah, but as much as Ford says they don't want that, they're not going to stop the dealers from doing that.
They are stopping them from doing that.
No,
They're
they're
sending
stop
strongly
they're stopping the
worded.
dealers. They're stopping the dealers from saying, "Well, we need an additional deposit, or we need more." But once the car gets there, okay, the dealership's free to sell it for whatever they want. MSRP. Let's review what that is. It's the manufacturer's suggested retail price. Okay, that's not necessarily the market price. in most cases in the old days, 2 years ago, okay, people laughed at the MSRP. I'm not paying the MSRP. That was a suggestion that even the dealers found ridiculous, and nobody sold at MSRP. They sold well below MSRP. So if we're in a market conditions where the market says it's worth more than MSRP and people are willing to pay for it, dealers are going to charge more than MSRP. That price is merely a suggestion from the manufacturer and nothing more than that.
For sure, Pops, for sure.
Man, you getting me riled up today.
What was your first car, Dad?
My first car that I ever bought, that I ever owned, was a 1967 Camaro with a 3-speed on the tree manual transmission. And the truth of the matter was, I couldn't drive a stick when I bought it.
Mike Dean saying a big shout out to all of you credit union members out there. Be sure to give your credit union a chance to beat any dealer offered APR when shopping for a vehicle. Well said, Mike.
Absolutely.
Thank you for mentioning
Absolutely.
that. Never go to the dealership without having a pre-approval from
No,
credit union
no.
or from some sort of financial institution.
Know what you qualify for. Know what your credit background is. That's on you to do that. That's due diligence you need to do as a customer.
Pops, was your dad in car sales?
My dad was a dentist who gave up dentistry to go into the vending machine business. Okay, but he was a practicing dentist for quite some time, and then he went into the gumball machine business, and ultimately, I hate to say this, well, I don't hate to say it. It is what it is. And ultimately, the biggest part of his vending machine empire was prophylactic machines. So, as I like to say, my father went from capping teeth to capping other parts of the anatomy, and whatever work he did always brought a smile to people's faces.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Cameron, he went to join YAA.com, used the tools that we have back there, and he actually got an F-150 for $500 less than what we told him to. That's awesome, Cameron.
Good news.
Congratulations. Good for you. Easty Kid wants to know, can you go through Costco to get below MSRP?
You could try.
Yeah, the answer is no. Scott Gould, are the 2022 Mazdas coming to dealerships? Everything we've seen, read, heard, yes.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I don't know why they wouldn't be. Where else are they going to go?
They got to get made.
Yeah.
What are the first things one should purchase after getting a car? Any particular accessories you would recommend? I don't think you have any accessories on your car, do you, Dad?
The only thing that I added to my car was the all-weather rubber mats, which I prefer over the carpet mats.
Yeah.
And they're much easier to keep clean. But that would be I mean, the thing I wish I would have done that I didn't do because I just didn't have
ceramic paint.
Yeah, I really like a paint and interior protection, but I don't like to overpay for it. And since I was pretty much out of the business when I got my last car, it didn't make it. I didn't have the ability to get it done at a reasonable price, so I didn't get it done. And and besides, it was a lease car, so I was figuring I wouldn't keep it. But in today's world, with my lease being up in 11 months, I probably will end up buying it because I don't know what else I would buy that would represent a better value than being able to buy that car at probably somewhere between 20 to 30% below market.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
We've got from Craig asking, is YAA in demand? And actually, you know what, Craig, I'm going to say yes. And if you're unfamiliar with our business, like how we actually try and help people be on the YouTube channel, check out the website, joinyaa.com. We had that in December.
Yes.
15,000 people search for cars back on Join YA. We launched our car search, the car search feature, which I encourage everyone to try out. We've got some updates coming in 2 or 3 weeks, some pretty not insignificant updates. So that would make them significant. And then also the extended warranties. If you're going to buy an extended warranty, we are not here to tell you if you should or shouldn't, but if you are going to buy one, get a quote from us. We vetted the provider. We actually tell you our markup. It's $500 flat. And we don't try and force sell it to you. Like, it's kind of a nice experience. And each week, Dad, we're selling more of them. So I think people appreciate the fact that we're honest and we're transparent about that. And I got to tell you, I was looking in our claims dashboard. We've paid out
Yes.
over $10,000 in claims since we started doing this, and there was one person who had over $4,000 of that paid out on a Suburban, I think, which was
Wow.
a lot. But anyway, so yes, is YA in demand? I think so. I think we're doing good.
I believe we're not as in demand as we would like to be. We're
Yeah,
not as in demand as I think we should be.
yeah.
We are far from a household name, um, and maybe someday we will be.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully. All right, Pops. Carl has a follow-up question. Thanks for answering the question. What verbiage, terms, phrases can I use to get the best price on F&I products besides asking for the individual product prices? And I'm just going to wave the flag, Pops, but I'd love your answer as well. Deal School 2.0. Carl, if you go to joinyaa.com/deal school, Miss Kimberly Klein did an awesome segment
Yes.
on everything for the F&I office. So anyway, your answer, Pops, but
Well,
joinyaa.com/deal
yeah,
school.
and my answer would be, what's your markup, and rather than just always talk about price or how it impacts your payment, find out what the actual features and the benefits are, and make sure if you have any interest in any of these products that you read the contract for each product so that you fully understand it. Because I am not going to sit here and suggest to you that an F&I person might embellish exactly what is or isn't covered, but rather than run that risk, see a list of exclusions or inclusions so that you can verify whatever it is that your F&I person might be telling you.
And Deal School, I should
And
mention,
Deal
it's
School, and well,
100% free.
the
No email
segment
required, anything.
that the F&I goddess
Oh,
herself did was phenomenal, just phenomenal.
it really, yeah,
It was
she
so
actually,
much better than what you and I did. Don't tell anybody, but it was.
that's fair.
Yeah, she
Lucas
did
has a
a
question.
terrific job.
Lucas has a question for you, Pops. And again, join yaa.com/deal school.
Yes.
Should we make a deal on a car that's in transit to the dealer, or should we let it get there and sit for a while first? Good question.
Well, that's a great question. In normal times, when there could be 10 of the same exact car in the same color and same trim level sitting on a dealer's lot, then it would be beneficial to see how long it might sit, or actually ask the dealer which one has been there for the longest amount of time, because that would be the one they would be most motivated to sell. But today, fully like 90 to 95% of the vehicles that are incoming are already spoken for. People have already put their name on them, put a deposit on it, agreed to the pricing of it
Yeah.
prior to the vehicle getting there. So what you might find if you don't do that is when a vehicle does arrive, it's already sold. So, it 2 years ago, yeah, I would have told you, yeah, let a car sit for a little bit. Today, you want to get your name on a car before it ever gets there so that you actually have the opportunity to buy it.
All right, Pops, got a couple more questions here. How you feeling? You okay?
Oh, buddy.
Kwong wants to know, when will it burst? We talked about this earlier in the show, Kwong, but we are about the hour, so we'll do a quick little recap. Essentially, it could be anywhere from 3 months from now to 18 months from now. Our expectation, my dad and I differ a little bit. I'm going to say,
I'm going to say you say you're closer to about 9 months from now.
I was just thinking 9 months. How do you
Yeah.
do that?
And I'm going to say
How'd
I'm
you do that?
closer to
You're such a dad.
the 12 to 18 months from now.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think it's going to take a little longer than Zach thinks. Um, and we could either both be wrong, or neither one of us could be right, or we could both be wrong. Who the hell knows? But I would say the earliest you would see anything, and I'm not as optimistic as Zach is, would be 9 months from now.
Yeah, I always try and make things like I want them to last longer, but it happens too
Well,
quick anyway.
let's not go there. No, let's not talk about that.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You're a household name in my family. Thank you, Melissa.
Well, thank you, Melissa. Yeah. It doesn't start with GD. Those Shefskas.
Hey, want to give YNWA says space. Thanks a lot for the advice. Space, Phil, Justice, we have an awesome team of
Yes.
YAA members that are back on the community forum. Join yaa.com/community. I think will take you to the community forum. Post your questions there after the shows. Post your deals. I mean, it's just like very, very, very vibrant. Like 100 new posts each week. It's really incredible. So
Yeah.
please, Space, huge shout out to you. Phil, huge shout out to you for being such an active part of our community there. Drew says, have there been any issues with Vroom cutting a check? They are offering $4,000 more than Carvana and CarMax. That's a lot more money. Have you heard any stories about them paying out being an issue?
I have heard
Hmm.
some stories where their money might not be as readily available as, say, Carvana's money is. Carvana, when they show up to pick up your car, shows up with a check, I
Yeah.
believe. A Vroom shows up with a promise to get you the check.
Here we go. And we have it right here. We Carvana paying. It was really smooth. We did direct deposit ACH. That's Carvana. Yeah. So we can't say anything definitive about Vroom.
Yes.
Thomas wants to know, do you think the market is ready for the transition to EVs? I have an interesting data point to toss out to this, Pops, but I'm all ears for you first.
Do I think it's ready for the transition? I don't think we have much of a choice. We have documented the fact that the industry, yeah, look at that. Vroom sent a check afterwards. There's a big difference between afterwards and when they're picking up the car. And CarMax gives it. That's correct. But what I was going to say is the industry manufacturers have committed nearly $500 billion over the next few years to continue to push EVs. So I would think with that type of commitment from the manufacturers, this is when the transition's really starting to happen. Now, it will be years from now before EVs represent 40-50% of all vehicles sold, because right now they represent just a couple percent. But I think the transition's starting. There's just too much noise. There's too much information. There's
Too much investment.
yeah, too much investments that it's not going to happen. So yeah, I think the transition has begun, and even someone like me has to learn to get on the bandwagon.
Scott with a great point. Not enough infrastructure charge takes
Well,
too
I
long.
keep saying that, but
We actually have Justin on our team. He's kind of like our in-house EV specialist. He wrote an article to be published next week that talks about like how expensive it actually is to charge at home on a level 1, on a level 2, and using fast chargers out in the network. I actually, as I was reading through his article and talking to him, I want to build a calculator where you can input in what state you're in,
uh-huh.
like locality you're in, and what car you have, and then we can show you what a full charge on level 1, level 2, or level 3 will actually cost you, because the price for the electricity is different at each of the different
Absolutely.
frequencies.
Yeah. That's a great idea, by the way.
Thank you. I think it's
Yeah.
actually going to be like,
Yeah.
that'll be useful.
Yes.
So let's see
I'm
here.
sure Arash was thrilled to hear about that.
Scott's baby, Ethan,
Yeah.
finds us entertaining. That's I
Yeah.
guess good.
My children found me entertaining when they were toddlers too.
Hidden Citizen, sup guys, sup Hidden Citizen.
Sup. Yeah.
Just made a deposit on a RAV4 Hybrid 2022. They charged me $1,000 market adjustment. Expected delivery February 21st. Can't wait. Yeah, that seems about right in this market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
M. Siddiqui says, who is paying these guys to advocate car price hike? We don't get paid. We don't get paid from nobody, so it's all good. We got no agenda here. And Juan wants to know, do you expect automakers to flood the market when the bubble bursts? This is a really interesting question, Pops.
Well, I think the market will already be flooded when the bubble bursts, and that's why the bubble will burst. That'll be one of the reasons why the bubble will burst. And I think when the bubble bursts, you'll see much more aggressive incentives, many millions of dollars more spent to incentivize the sales of these vehicles, whether it be the manufacturers paying consumer rebates and things of that nature, or whether the manufacturer incentivizes the dealerships. But yeah, when the bubble bursts, that'll be one of the reasons.
One of the tricky things to think about is that there are two prices on used cars: wholesale and retail. And the bubble is going to burst on the wholesale side first,
before
but
it
that
bursts on
won't
the
change
retail side.
anything, and that won't change anything on the retail side. If it
No.
changes anything on the retail side from the retail experience, it's what the trade and value of your vehicle is going to be. That's what's going to change. So it's interesting to think about.
Yes.
There's two prices. All right, here we go, Pops. A couple more for you. Jacob says Vroom paid me a few days after picking up my vehicle and paid me about $5,000 more than the competition. So there you go. So we've got a couple people saying they've had a Vroom experience and no issues.
Yes.
And Alyssa has the way we purchase a car changed forever. We talked a little bit about this in a video that came out last week, Dad, after that Axios article that essentially said car buying has changed forever. I think there's some lasting impacts from this, don't you?
Yes. I think one of the things that the pandemic brought about is it accelerated the timeline or the time for dealers improving the way they digitize sales moving forward, making it a tad more customer centric, customer friendly, and allowing the customers to do more online than they ever have. That was coming either way. It just got sped up when dealerships had to shut down and virtually could only sell cars online. So, yeah, I think for the most part, um, these are some lasting changes, and the really wise dealers and dealer groups will cater to customers in a different manner than they have in the past, making it more consumer friendly than it ever has been. Maybe just maybe they'll be ready to actually listen to and accommodate the customers the way they wanted to be. They want to be listened to and accommodated.
George K says no love for EVs here. Sad. George, I actually got to tell you, and this is something I was going to mention to you, Pops. We ran a poll on our Instagram. Search Your Advocate Alliance or Raz's Jazz is my dad's. I am at Shufska on Instagram. And it was incredible. It was like 40% of people are interested in our audience for EVs, 60% aren't. And it was like 500 votes.
Wow.
So it's pretty clear that the YAA audience is not EV super interested in EVs. That being said, we are going to continue to produce a lot of content back at joinyaa.com about EVs, helping people understand them. In fact,
Only because it's the
you and I
future.
need to learn about it.
Well, sure.
We do.
Yeah.
Future. It's pretty obvious.
Yes.
That water, Pops?
It is. Yes. Yes.
Kyle's got a question for you. Ray, why do you think manufacturers haven't increased?
Haven't raised MSRP substantially? Well, I think they have, and they are.
Tesla is a perfect example of that, honestly.
Well, the Tundra, didn't we do a thing on the
How
Tundra?
Toyota's MSRPs have gone up, Honda's MSRPs have gone up.
Yes.
Tesla is a perfect example because they're like throwing the rule book out.
Yes.
The rule book used to be like maybe the MSRP would go up $100 during the model year, right?
Couple $100, maybe.
Tesla is like ripped the playbook up, and they're like, we're gonna raise MSRP every Wednesday that it's sunny. Like, definitely MSRPs are going up.
Yes, all the manufacturers are doing it because what they found is that if consumers willingly will pay $5,000 to $10,000 over MSRP to the dealer to be able to buy the car, well, then that indicates to the manufacturer that the MSRP is too low. Exactly. And they'll raise the MSRP.
And we've heard from our contacts that that's exactly what they're
doing. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we got two more for you, Pops. Picking up my Maverick Hybrid next week for MSRP, fair deal. Should I apply for Ford financing rates now or wait to apply with dealership to see Ford financing only shows 1.9% for 60 months?
I would, as Mike Dean suggests, contact your local credit union, set up an approval prior to picking up the car so you know what you qualify for. If Ford is running a special, then also apply through Ford Motor Credit for the special. You can do it directly through Ford Motor Credit, or you could do it through your dealer's finance department. But yeah, you want to know what your interest rate is going to be before you go to pick up the vehicle.
We've got from Kyle in the chat saying Tundra was a terrible example because it was a redesign. You were 100% right, Kyle, but let me show you this. I'll share my screen really quickly. Here is the Honda Passport base price going up by $5,080. So like that's not normal. And
wait, you froze there, handsome. You're still frozen. Oh my God, what did you do?
My
Oh,
internet cut out. You
oh my
back?
God. Maybe they should have better internet and less LaCroix.
Well, that's okay. Magalee's here saying, "Man, you guys are working on a Saturday night. That's why you guys rock." Thank you, Magalee.
Yeah,
Who the
well, we
hell's
work.
using the internet here?
Yeah,
I'm the only
we,
one here. Who the hell's doing it?
yeah, but we work every Saturday night.
Frozen. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry. Someone must
yeah.
be on the Wi-Fi with me here. I'm literally the only person in this building. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Sorry about that.
The only person?
I think so.
Okay, cool.
I'll text you when I get home to make sure I make it home safe.
Please, I want to know.
All right, Pops. That's another Saturday night in the books. When will the bubble burst?
When it does.
Sometime.
Yeah.
We'll
And it'll
be
be ugly when it does.
and we'll be talking about it. That's for
Yeah.
damn sure.
Yeah, we can assure you.
We've got Deal School, 100% free, no sign up or anything. Join yaa.com/deal school. If you're going to buy a car, use our car search to help you locate it. Use our email templates, use our out the door price calculator, all that fun stuff. And if you're going to keep your car and you want to think about an extended warranty, get a quote from us. We're here to help make sure that if something does go awry, we can help pay a claim for you. Like I told you before, Dad, over $10,000 in claims that we've paid out already. And I don't know, I want to be that company when we cross 50,000 and 100,000 and $1 million. I want to celebrate those because that means we're actually paying claims. We're actually helping.
No, that's exactly what it means. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's what it's supposed to do. That's why people buy it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't give people a hard time. Just pay for the stuff. And anyway. All right, Pops, any parting shots from you?
Hey, this was fun. Can't wait to do it on the Daily Show on Monday. So Monday through Friday at noon Eastern, it's news that you can use from YAA. So be sure to join us on the Ray and Zach channel for that every Monday through Friday. And then every Saturday night, regular as clockwork, whether we want to be here or not. We usually are.
Come on. Come on now. Come on now.
Scott's
saying neither of us have Saturday night dates now.
Well, what was that?
A light just went on. It made me nervous.
Okay. Wow. Do you have a date tonight?
I do not. Nope. Just heading back home.
Wow. Well, I don't have a date either.
All right, Pops. I love it.
I don't have.
Go enjoy.
The difference is I don't have a girlfriend.
You enjoy moving from that table where you're at to about 15 feet behind you. Now, 5 feet behind you to the couch. I know that's where you're going to be.
You're overestimating. It's less than 3 feet.
Good night, everyone. Thanks so much for spending time with us.
Good night, all.